Have you ever been sued or litigated by an attorney? Not a fun time. When I was doing correctional medicine and had about 20 some odd jails, I was sued at least 30 times every year. I mean, what does an inmate have to do except sit back in his jail cell thinking of a way to make some money? And all of them fell through, but it took time away from what I was doing, time away from my work, and it's a huge pain in the butt. So the question comes up, can you be sued if you render care to someone in the outdoors? And you're walking out there, hey, it could even be your friend, your peer. They get hurt, you render care, they don't do well, or there's a bad outcome. Can they sue you? Well, the Good Samaritan law, there is a Good Samaritan law in every state. I'm going to put a link to this in the description below. I have went through all of this looking at different Good Samaritan laws. The first one I think came out in 2009 in California. And we're going to talk about that, and we're going to try to give you some data on what to do, what to avoid, and versus morally versus the law. So let's get at it. The Good Samaritan law has been around for a while. It formally was introduced in California in 2009. Now, the Good Samaritan law is written in all 50 states, and it was initially to protect physicians only. It's expanded to all healthcare, EMT, paramedics, PAs, NPs, MDs, and that law exists in every state. The question is, can you be sued with a Good Samaritan law on the books? Well, of course you can. And anymore, with everybody having one, sometimes two cell phones, they're videotaping everything. So, in discussing this with some attorneys, what they have told me, which is actually wise for medical and non-medical, is you walk up, it could be your friend, it could be a peer, it could be a car accident, ask permission. Hey, can I help you? I have these credentials. Can I help you? I have 0 credentials. I'm here. Do you need any help? Do you want me to call 911? And then stay within your parameters of what you're comfortable with in terms of rendering care. So that's what's really important. First thing is do no harm. We are to do no harm. That's medical and non-medical. And then you have to look at things like negligence. Let's say you're CPR certified and you are giving some very poor compressions and you're hearing some ribs crack and you're off center and you're all nervous and afraid and there's a problem with how you're doing compressions, and Johnny over here on his skateboard is videotaping you. So that's an issue. That could be an issue for you. Stay within your parameters. And now you're in the outdoors and someone falls off the cliff. Again, they're conscious. You're going to ask permission. Hey, how can I help you? What do you need? And then watch our videos and look on learn how to render care. If they have a fractured leg, what are you going to do to splint that? So yes, the Good Samaritan law, you can be sued. Highly unlikely it's going to go through and go anywhere. I had a situation where just within the last 3 years, I ran up onto this guy who's out in the middle of the road. He had a very severe motorcycle accident, and I'm doing my thing, and an ambulance comes, and these EMTs, they weren't paramedics. Uh, they're putting him on the gurney, and they don't even put a C-collar on him. So I was involved in that a little bit because that's a problem. The other problem that I want you to be aware of that you could run into is that good old H word, hubris. I'm driving in central Illinois. There is an extremely bad motorcycle accident again on the interstate. This guy's arm is broke 3 ways from Sunday, and I'm on the scene second. There is a nurse on the scene, and actually there's 2 nurses on the scene. So this guy is having no feeling in his hand whatsoever, and they are telling me he is clearly having a stroke. So I said, no, we need to do such and such. They jumped in immediately and they were going to overrule me immediately. So what do you do in a situation like that, where you have more hubris than blood on the floor? All right. So what do you do? How do you deal with that? So what I did is I go, I don't need this because, and I'm worried about the guy. So I'm not going to let him die. I got in the car and I waited and I watched and I observed. It's an arm. Probably has a neck injury. He probably has a cervical fracture. So what's going to happen is I waited until EMS got there. When EMS got there, they were in good hands. I took off. So in those situations, then that will happen where you got Johnny Rescue on the scene who wants to take control of the whole thing. So be aware of that. You got personalities involved. You got an injured person. You have to decide what is the best thing to do morally versus, and in the back of your mind, think of legally. And so, number one, in review, ask permission to the person that's hurt. Number two, stay within your boundaries and your parameters of what you're comfortable with. Do no harm, and there's no negligence. Make sure that you're not doing things haphazard due to your own anxiety and fear. And then, if you can, wait for professionals to get there. Or if you're in a situation in the woods and you're way in the outdoors, you're going to have to transport that person in. And once again, at the risk of being redundant, check out the videos that we have on this. All right, guys, you know what to do. Keep your eyes on the horizon, face to the wind, stay out of the courtroom.